My name is Vanessa Na, and I am an Asian American feminist. I am the daughter of Cambodian refugees from Denver, Colorado, but I'm currently housed at the University of Oregon doing public relations work. However, at my core, I am passionate about Asian American coalition building and elevating the voices of Asian American women and telling our stories. And this is my life story. Well, I think for me, identifying as Cambodian-American has really shaped that. Although I identify as Asian American, the Cambodian part is really the component that keeps me rooted. Asian Americans, although we are a part of this movement, we are a part of this community, a lot of my community, Cambodians, get left out of the conversation. So when I approach anything that I do, I make sure to speak for my community. I think it's always hard for me to speak about my family because I feel that they should be the ones telling that story. So they came to the United States as Cambodian refugees in the 1980s, originally brought over and sponsored by a church group and went to Ohio, and then took a bus trip down to Denver where I grew up. I remember growing up and surviving off donations from the church, surviving off of food stamps, being made fun of in school because I was assumed to be like the other Asians, so had to be good in math, etc. All those stereotypes that come with being Asian American, but nobody knew what Cambodian was. So I'd say my family was from Cambodia, and they'd be like, "Oh, like is that a place in China? Where are they actually from? I didn't know that was a country," and it caused a lot of displacement for myself and my family. We stopped talking about what it meant to be Cambodian American. We spoke the language, we ate the food, but I never got to learn my family's history. After escaping war, after dodging bullets, after surviving starvation, my family didn't want to relive that. So as I grew up, I didn't know what it meant to be Cambodian. I just knew my family came from some country to the United States, and I was here. I was born here. In high school, I had the opportunity to do an independent project to understand the Khmer Rouge or genocide in Cambodia, and it just blew my mind. I finally understood what my family went through, what they had to overcome and survive through to even have me be alive, to have me be born, and that they went through a war and they survived it. And I don't know how many families can say that they've done that. It's absolutely incredible, and that they can be here and still be warm and loving and nurturing. I guess it was taught to me that education was my only way of supporting my family. For myself, I don't see going to college and getting a degree as a way of getting out of poverty or getting out of these issues. It's a way for me to find the language, to work in the system, to combat the system, so that the experience that my family went through growing up, the discrimination, the stereotypes, the prejudice, so that can't happen in the future. I want to combat that. So education really is where it starts for me. That's why I'm passionate about higher education. That's why I'm passionate about doing research on the educational attainment of Southeast Asian Americans, why I want to do scholar activism. It's important to me that scholarship and research doesn't just stay as a piece of paper. I want to do community-based research. I want to be in my community saying, what can I do now that I have the privilege and access to the ivory tower? What can I do to make sure that you can get there too if you want to get there? How can I make sure there's spaces for us in the academy? Because I think that's where a lot of change happens. I would say in my development as an activist, when I learned the language of activism, when I learned what oppression was, when I learned what privilege was, when I learned that my history was taken away from me, I was angry. And I didn't know how to be productive with that anger. So I don't want to say that anger is unhealthy, because it is. Anger is a healthy thing. But if we tear people down in the process, we're not engaging in actual activism, right? Actual activism, in my opinion, is transformative. And it's not just transformative for me as a person, it's transformative for my community. And that includes transformative for my mom, my grandparents, etc. Activism needs to be accessible, right? I've been in too many social justice spaces where we use language as a way to oppress other folks. Oh, you don't know what oppression means? Then why are you here? You don't know what privilege means? Then why are you here? We can't do that to ourselves. Our community is already small, particularly our social justice community. We can't tear each other down in it. I think it's one thing to call people out, and then it's one thing to hold them accountable. And I know there are lots of different ways to approach activism, but I found that when I approach activism with love, when I approach activism with the intent to engage others instead of harass others, that's when it's been the most transformative for me, and that's when other people choose to be involved in that activism. My activism needs to apply to my grandparents, my mom. It needs to be able to apply to people who don't have the opportunity to be in those spaces. Our activism has to be rooted in healing and has to be rooted in radical love, because if we're only fueled by anger and if we're only fueled by telling other people that they're wrong, we're not going to be transformative and we're not going to be revolutionary, and that's what we need to be.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.